best versus the best, and we'll see what happens on Friday and Saturday night. 2 games on Saturday night as well. But let's start in the Inland Division, Kyle. Centennial taking on Vista Murrieta. I know I sound like a broken record here. A lot of people say just pencil them in at the end of the year and play in the finals. This is the 4th year in a row. They've gone back and forth the last couple of years. Let's start with you and say, what is your Kyle's key to the game? What's it going to be to get that victory on Friday nights?
Well, I have keys for each team. The first for Vista Murrieta is front 4 penetration. Trey Watson is such a shifty, smart running back that by the time he gets to the line of scrimmage, you've pretty much lost the battle. He's going to find a hole and cruise through it. If I'm Vista Murrieta, I want to get penetration. I want to hit him in the backfield at least once, knock him off balance early. The other thing is, though, it's important that it's the front 4 that does it, because if you have to commit your linebackers up to do that, all your front 7, all of a sudden Robert Weber is going to go over the top to Grayson Bankhead and Barry Ware. So I think for Vista Murrieta, they've really got to get good penetration by their front 4, and that's really, I think, the only hope they have of containing Trey Watson as best you can, while not also sacrificing some yards through the air. Then for Centennial, I think, for them, the biggest thing they've got to figure out a way to do is keep Colton Gerhardt in the pocket. Disguise your coverages, get a QB spy in there. Gerhardt's a smart guy, so if you have an obvious coverage and he knows who the spy is going to be, he can work his way around it. So I think for Corona Centennial, they have to come in with a good defensive game plan, a guy that's both athletic enough and smart enough to disguise his coverage and keep Gerhardt in the pocket. That way give Austin Malawada and Jalen Johnson a little more time, the defensive ends, to maybe get to him.
Yeah. Now, Colton Gerhardt, a proven runner. He wanted to prove that he could throw as well. Kind of did that at his old stomping grounds in Norco last week. So, Coach, how do you size up this matchup? I mean, are we going to see another 86-point performance from Centennial, or a little more low scoring than that?
I think it'll be a shootout. I don't know if we'll see 86 ever again. That's a lot
That was amazing.
But, yeah, I think it'll be a shootout. I think Vista Murrieta has a couple of things that gives them a chance, at least defensively, to stay competitive. Their quickness up front, Curtis Bolton, Tyler Cook, the defensive lineman, quickness up front gives them a chance. They play really hard defensively, and that's something that really gives them a chance. Their guys run to the ball, and so sometimes the 5, 6, 7, 8-yard runs that for Centennial sometimes turn into 80-yard runs, Vista can sometimes do some things to keep that under control maybe. I think the key for Vista is they have to do enough schematically to try to keep Weber and keep Coach Logan on their toes. You can't give them the same look over and over again. If you give them the same look 2-3 times in a row, Coach Logan's going to figure it out, Robert Weber's going to figure it out, and now you're in trouble.
It's almost like a chess match. But these are 2 of the best in the game when you're talking about Coley Candell, right?
Very much so. You're talking about 2 of the best coaches in not just Southern California, not just the state of California, you're talking about the country. You're talking about 2 of the best high school football coaches in the whole country, and it's going to be a chess match. It's putting your pieces in the right place. Both teams have really good players. They're the best players in the Inland Division, maybe the best players in Southern California. Both teams have the pieces. It's going to be a matter of who can get them in the right place and throw your opponent off enough to give yourself a chance.
I think there's the schematics, but there's also the players have to execute. A lot of times they're in the right place, but all it can take, and especially in a game like this, 1 missed tackle at the wrong time, 1 blown blocking assignment, and all of a sudden you give up an 80-yard touchdown, and that could be the difference here.
And that's true. And what both of these teams try to do offensively is they spread the field. They try to put their players in one-on-one situations in space. And so which team will tackle in space? Which team is able to execute that part of the game where you tackle a guy in space? And I predict if you chart who misses the most tackles in this game, the team that misses the most tackles, probably going to lose a football game. The team that tackles the best, probably going to win the football game.
A Division I college who's who, I guess, on Friday night. I mean, if you just look across the field, all these big-time college recruits. One of them, Colton Gerhardt, he went to Norco last week, went up against his former team, had a huge game. We caught up with Colton after the game, talked about beating the Cougars as well as moving ahead to the CIF finals and taking on a Centennial team that he's very familiar with coming from the Big 8 League. So let's hear from Colton Gerhardt real quick after that big win against Norco.
It's going to be a very emotional game, but just like I said, it was going to be another game, and we came out just as good as we always have, and we prepared in the week, and the result was great.
And the results don't lie. You're probably a little more fired up for this one, right?
Yeah, of course. Of course, there's a lot of flaring emotions, but I had to keep myself calm a little bit and just take it like another game.
It looks like it's going to be Centennial. What does that mean for you?
I mean, I'm just going to treat it like another game, prepare. Of course, I'm going to prepare a little harder because it's CIF, but we're going to do what we do during the week and get it done.
Now, guys, last year when Colton was still at Norco, they almost beat Centennial. Do you remember that, Coach? It came down to a game-winning field goal, yeah, for Centennial. Yeah. So, I mean, Colton's been right there to beat this team that's kind of given him problems the last several years when he was at Norco, at least.
You know, and I think that familiarity might help him here. I mean, he knows what he's going up against, knows the players he's going up against, knows the schemes. We talked about Robert Weber, you know, figuring out what Vista Murrieta's defense is going to do. Colton Gerhardt probably has a good idea of what Centennial's defense is going to do just because he has that experience. And I wouldn't be surprised if, you know, that's the little bit of an edge that might be able to push them over the top. I think everyone thinks this will be a close game that'll really come down to a couple of plays here or there and maybe just the smallest of margins.
You know, I think one thing about Colton Gerhardt that people don't understand is how smart he is. You mentioned that earlier, but he's a cerebral assassin. You know, he's not just big, he's not just strong, and he is big and strong.
Yeah.
But he's smart. He understands concepts. He understands defenses. And he can hurt you that way too. As can Robert Weber. I mean, typically when you take the two best quarterbacks, you know, which I think these are the two best quarterbacks in the division. You take the two best quarterbacks, and usually their teams have success. I mean, it's a quarterback-driven game, especially in the era of the spread offense. So you got the two best quarterbacks, two smartest quarterbacks, and that's one of the things that Gerhardt, that's one of the ways he beats you. That's one of the weapons he has in his arsenal.
Now, if you were going to maybe throw out a score or make any sort of bold prediction here, it's going to be close, right? I mean, the last several years, maybe outside of that first meeting in 2010, these two teams have played to that last possession. Whoever has the ball last has a chance to win at least. Similar scenario this time around, you think?
Absolutely. It's going to come down to the wire. It's going to be a four-quarter game, you know, and don't be surprised to see one team get out ahead and then the other team come back.
Kind of reel them back in.
Don't be surprised to see that happen. You know, don't tune it out if one team gets a 14-point lead because the other guys are coming. These are two evenly matched teams. They do what they do. They do it extraordinarily well. It's going to be a close game. It's going to be a four-quarter game. It's going to come down to who has the ball last and like Kyle said, who makes the plays, who executes the plays. Because in the end, we could talk all we want about coaches' games, and these are great coaches, well prepared. But in the end, it's a players' football game. The games are about players, and which players make the most plays is going to determine who wins a football game.
All right, guys, over/under on points, 85 combined.
I'll take the under on that one.
I'll take the over.
85.
Talking like a 45 to 40 game,
yeah, 45, 45. I'm gonna go under. I'm gonna go 42-38. 42-38. I'm not gonna say either way because I don't want to get in trouble with either of these.
Last year was
30-28.
Last year 30-28. The previous year 35-28. So they've kind of been around 30, but this year
senior quarterbacks this year. Senior quarterbacks. These guys aren't getting fooled. Senior quarterbacks. They're gonna score. They're gonna put points up. You know, once you get out of that first quarter, you might have a little bit of feeling out process, heavyweight fight stuff. But once you get in the second, third quarter, it's gonna be a shootout. There's no way to senior quarterbacks. Athletic players in space, there are going to be a lot of points scored.